Hey there, come on in and sit down. Make yourself completely comfortable. Grab a warm cup of tea or a nice soothing oat milk latte, and let us just talk for a little while. Honestly, as I was sitting by my window today, watching the gentle rain fall on the leaves outside, I found myself thinking deeply about just how much noise and chaotic energy there is out there in the financial world right now. It feels like every single time we open our phones or glance at a screen, there is a new headline shouting about all-time highs and roaring stock markets. But if you are feeling a little bit of a quiet disconnect lately, if you are looking at your own bank accounts and wondering why your personal life does not feel quite as glorious or as easy as the news makes it sound, I really want you to take a slow, deep breath. Let that tension go from your shoulders, because your feelings are completely valid and you are absolutely not alone. Actually, what we are going to explore together today might just be the single biggest hidden oversight in almost everyone's investment plan, and it is something that almost nobody talks about in a gentle way. Imagine for a moment that you own two little shops down on the main street of your neighborhood. One is an incredibly popular little bakery that is bustling every single morning, up over 500% because their fresh sourdough is just beautiful and everyone loves being there. And the other shop is a little clothing store that people just are not visiting as much anymore, down over 50%, where the lights are dimming and the shelves are gathering dust. If you own those two businesses directly, you would probably be paying very close attention to what was slipping away in that second shop. But when we buy a standard traditional index fund, whether it is in our personal investing accounts or tucked away in our workplace retirement plans, we are neatly bundling them both together into one giant basket. We see one smooth average number on our computer screens every month, and we naturally think everything is perfectly fine. But underneath that quiet surface, the great companies are working overtime to pull us up, while the struggling ones are dragging us down as hard as they possibly can. It is a bit like trying to take a peaceful walk forward on a beautiful afternoon, while someone is quietly stepping on your shoelaces every few yards, and that can feel incredibly exhausting when you are just trying your best to build a safe, secure future for yourself and the people you love. We are told by the big textbooks to just buy and hold forever, to set it and forget it. And that advice sounds so incredibly comforting because it promises us a completely hands-off path to safety. But the truth is, the world is moving and changing faster than it ever has in human history. And that old rigid strategy might be asking you to carry a lot of heavy, unnecessary weight. This is not about predicting market crashes or throwing our hands up in panic, because a real crash means absolutely everything goes down together, like a sudden summer thunderstorm that drenches the whole town. What we are seeing right now is more like a gentle but massive rotation, a deep shifting of the underlying tides. Think of the stock market as a giant swimming pool with several different sections. The total amount of water in the pool stays pretty much the same, which is exactly why the main index looks so steady and high to the casual observer. But if you walk up to the edge and look closely, you will see that one end of the pool is getting incredibly deep and overflowing, while the other end is slowly and quietly draining out into the dry ground beneath. Right now, if we look past the loud front page headlines, more individual industries are actually sliding downhill than are climbing up. Money is quietly packing its bags and moving out of certain older sectors, and it is flooding into very specific real-world spaces. For instance, energy and physical materials are seeing an immense amount of support because, let us face it, we are all feeling the very real pinch of rising prices in our daily lives. When gas and electricity and everyday essentials cost more, it acts like a silent tax on our hard work. Our paychecks might go up by a little bit over time, but if the actual cost of living climbs faster, it always feels like we are running on a treadmill that someone set just a bit too quick. Because of that, the companies that make everyday consumer items, the ones that completely rely on people having lots of extra cash to spend on a whim, are starting to feel a distinct chill. On the other side of the coin, the money is flowing directly toward the heavy lifters of the physical world, the things you can actually touch and see and feel. Think about gold, which people have turned to for thousands of years just to keep their savings safe and preserved. When paper currencies lose their grip, think about the massive energy providers, or the raw materials like copper that are absolutely essential for building the modern world, from electrical grids to the massive infrastructure powering our technological landscape. Even industries like uranium are quietly gaining steady ground, because our global community needs an immense amount of physical power to keep running, and that power has to come from somewhere real. There are quiet, steady companies out there physically building the roads, the pipelines, the water systems, and the data centers that keep our modern life moving forward. They do not go viral on social media, they do not make for flashy dinner party conversation, and they certainly do not feel like volatile games or speculative bets. They are just honest, hard-working businesses with real contracts and real earnings. But because they do not have famous household names, most everyday investors miss them entirely. Meanwhile, the traditional index fund forces you to keep holding on to the shifting ground of the past, like older retail names or giant consulting firms that are being left behind as technology changes how we collaborate and work. It can feel incredibly frustrating to realize that the financial industry often sells us a simplified story, encouraging us to sit perfectly still for decades while the big institutions move their money around constantly to stay ahead of the curve. They tell us it is diversified, but sometimes that word is just a polite way of saying you are matching your beautiful rocket ships with sinking ships. You do not have to be a high-powered expert with decades of banking experience to see these simple patterns. You just have to look at where the actual resources are flowing. It is about learning to do a little bit of gentle pruning in our lives, removing the things that no longer serve our long-term peace of mind and leaning into the spaces where the world is clearly heading. Our parents and grandparents could often pick one big company name or buy a single broad basket and leave it alone for 30 years, because the pace of global change was much slower back then. But today, innovation is disrupting old businesses almost overnight, and holding on to absolutely everything indiscriminately can mean watching your hard-earned savings go sideways for years while the rest of the world moves forward. You deserve to know how the game is played behind the scenes, so you can make gentle choices that bring you closer to that feeling of true financial security and freedom, rather than just accepting whatever the broader average market decides to give you. It is about giving yourself the simple tools to protect your wealth, to ensure that your money is working just as hard for you as you did to earn it in the first place. When you realize that you have the power to step away from the crowd and look at the market with calm, clear eyes, everything changes. You no longer feel that sudden jolt of anxiety when the news anchor looks worried, because you know exactly what is happening beneath the surface. You begin to see investing not as a stressful gamble, but as a slow, deliberate way of taking care of your future self. Like planting a small garden in your backyard and making sure the soil is rich and the weeds are gently pulled out. We do not need to complicate this with thousands of strange technical terms or overwhelming charts that make our heads spin after a long day at work. We just need to use our everyday common sense. If you notice that the world is demanding more clean energy, more physical infrastructure, and more raw materials to power the digital age, then it makes beautiful sense to let your money follow that path. And if you see that certain traditional industries are struggling to adapt to the new ways we live and communicate, it is perfectly okay to gently let them go. You do not owe any loyalty to a massive corporation that is in a downward slide. Your only responsibility is to protect your own peace and the well-being of your family. The financial industry loves to make things seem incredibly complicated because it keeps people feeling dependent on expensive advisors and complex products. But the most beautiful truths in life are usually the simplest ones. When we strip away the noise and the jargon, we find that good investing is just about being patient, being observant, and keeping things as simple as possible. It is about doing less, not more. It is about making a few thoughtful decisions and then having the quiet confidence to sit back and let time do the heavy lifting for you, like a quiet companion working for you while you sleep. When you look at your portfolio this way, the daily ups and downs of the stock market stop feeling like an emotional roller coaster. You start to view the red days and the green days with a sense of calm detachment, knowing that you are invested in real tangible things that the world truly needs to function. That is where real financial freedom begins. Not in having a specific number in your bank account, but in having a mind that is free from money anxiety. It is about knowing that you have built a solid foundation that can weather any season. Whether the economy is booming or going through a quiet period of rest, I want you to remember that wealth is not just about accumulating digits on a screen. It is about the time it buys you, the peace of mind it brings, and the ability to say yes to the things that truly matter in your life. Like spending a quiet morning with your kids, traveling to a beautiful place without worrying about the cost, or just knowing that you can handle whatever surprises life might throw your way. That is the true purpose of our financial journey. It is a gentle act of self-care, a way of ensuring that our future is just as bright and comfortable as we deserve it to be. As we sit here talking about all these shifting trends and economic forces, I really hope you can feel the pressure lifting off your chest. You do not have to figure everything out by tomorrow morning. You do not have to become an overnight trading expert. You just need to take one small, mindful step at a time. Maybe that means simply opening up your accounts this weekend and looking at what you actually own with a sense of curious wonder rather than fear. See which parts of your basket are truly thriving and which parts might be dragging you down. And remember to be incredibly kind to yourself throughout this entire process. Learning to manage your money in a new way is a journey, and every single step forward is a beautiful victory. Say to yourself that you are doing the best you can with the knowledge you have, and that is more than enough. We are all just learning as we go, trying to find our footing in a world that sometimes feels like it is spinning a bit too fast. But when we stick together, when we share our experiences and talk about these things openly and honestly without any judgment or shame, it all becomes so much easier. We realize that we all want the same basic things: safety, comfort, and a little bit of breathing room at the end of the month. So as the evening winds down and the world slows down around us, I want to thank you for spending this quiet time with me. It is always such a joy to step away from the frantic pace of the day and just have a real, grounded conversation about the things that truly impact our lives. If this talk brought a little bit of comfort to your evening, or if it helped you see your finances in a slightly softer light, please feel free to share your thoughts with me down below. I always love reading your stories and hearing how you are doing on your own path. Take care of yourself, breathe deeply, and remember that you are doing beautifully. I will see you very soon for our next quiet chat. Bye for now.